Okay, cool. These are not my usual snips. Alright, starting by threading my machine. Hopefully this angle is good for everybody. I realize a lot of times you can't really see what I'm doing over by the iron, and that can frustrate people. I'm also going to keep this more tutorial focused, less chatter. I feel like you guys can answer a lot of your own questions. So just a blanket hello to everybody for joining in, and thank you for being here. I've had a really long day, so I apologize if I'm low energy. It's just been a long day, long weekend, a lot of stuff going on. Copper boom! I love it. Gilmore Girls reference if you didn't know. From Smithton. Okay, so I am making the Diedelbug backpack. I've made quite a few changes to this bag. The patterns that are given are not awful by any means. You guys know, I like to change it up. So what I'm going to go ahead and start with first is my back panel. I really like to just get that out of the way. It's easy. It kind of takes up a lot of the hardware, and so I like to start there. I'm using light gold hardware from my website. Okay, Rochelle asked me if I was going to do a square bottom because she does a square bottom. Rochelle, I'm going to try. The last one I did not look good, so I'm gonna make a few adjustments and see how that goes. So we're gonna try. So this is normally a round bottom bag, which can be a little bit of a pain if you're making many in a row, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So, zipper back, zipper front. All right, so I'm gonna start with the top straps of the bag. I'm gonna do my best not to give any measurements out because I don't want to infringe upon designers' hard work, you know? So I'm just starting out with the straps. I haven't made any changes to these. I'm adding double-sided tape from wawac.com down the center. And this is 1/2 inch wide, and then I'm folding in the long raw edges and kind of keeping them 1/8 of an inch from each other on either side in the center. I'm using vinyl from FM Stores. This is a really nice leather-backed vinyl. I'll let you guys see there. I don't like to work with fuzzy-backed or flannel-backed vinyls very much. I think they're fine on like tote bags and whatnot, but on finished handbags, I really love this leather-backed. I think it wears nicely, and when people touch it, they feel like they assume it's leather, and they're like, oh wow. So this is pretty good for domestic machines as well. I find that it doesn't get too thick too quickly, and then it's also not too sticky, so it's kind of nice. All right, so I'm gonna start with stitch length of 5. If you want your vinyl to have a finished edge, what you would want to do is kind of fold it down first, or you can do a double-sided strap, which is where you take the measurements by half and then do cotton and vinyl and just kind of sandwich them together with raw edges all on the inside. So it would be like this times 2 on top of each other. That looks really nice and is also kind of domestic machine friendly. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm using a stitch length of 5 and I'm just going down one side and then I'm going to go straight across the bottom, pivot and come up. And then if you want to, you can sew across that last open edge, but I just leave it because it's going to get hidden anyway. Good night. You filled the litter?
Yeah.
Okay.
And change the
Trash.
bag there.
Cool. You gonna clean the Roomba?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Tonight,
Did I do okay?
I think so.
Yeah. I did my best.
You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm worried that the guapo stuff might not be or
I'm
at
sure
least
it's
maybe
fine.
the vegetables might be a little. We'll see.
And then I'm just repeating those steps on the other side. And then since I've got this raw edge here, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that off the bottom. Just so it's a nice straight edge. I feel like you could add some kind of strap end to this if you wanted to, but it gets a little, like where it is sitting on the body, you'd hate to have that kind of like rub anywhere, so I just leave it raw. And then on that folded over sewn edge, so I have one edge unsewn, this one is sewn, I'm gonna fold that over my D-ring about 1 inch. And I'm only gonna top stitch across the top. I'm gonna sew that on. I'll show you guys what I mean in a minute because then I'm gonna add a rivet. And I think it just gives it a finished look and then leaves it where this edge doesn't like start to lift or anything like that. So, yeah. And you could do like a full box stitch here if you really wanted to, but I'm just doing 1 stitch across the top and then I'll add a rivet in a little bit. So hopefully you guys can see what I mean here. So I've top stitched it here and then I'm gonna add a rivet down here. And that just gives it like a more finished look and keeps this from like flapping and kind of irritating the underarm. So I'm gonna set those aside. And then I've got 2 strap connectors. That's going to be where my other 1-inch square rings are. I think I'm gonna leave questions to the end of the video so people who are looking for a good reference when they're making this bag can watch it without like the questions, but if they're curious they can watch later too, kind of speed up till the end. So hopefully you guys are cool with that. All right, so I've folded these into the center and I'm just gonna top stitch along the long sides on both of these. I've been wanting to make this backpack like all weekend, so my friend texted me and she's like, hey, what did you decide on your live tonight? I was like, I don't know, I'm feeling tired, but darn it all if I don't want to make this bag so badly. Because I've actually never used the light gold hardware that I carry on a bag yet. I'm like, I really want to. So this one seemed kind of perfect. All right, so what I'm doing to secure this in place is I'm doing what I like to call a T-stitch, where I'm sewing down the center of this connector, and then when I get down tonight, get close to my hardware, I make it a perpendicular line. So again, I'll kind of show you what I mean. And this is just kind of a fun way to secure it even more. Hopefully you guys can kind of see down the center, and then I pivoted and went across there. It's kind of hard with brown on brown thread, but you can get the idea. And that just keeps this from kind of flopping around or anything like that. Okay, so this is my side. All right, so now I'm at one of the last steps for the back panel, which are the hanging strap and the back accent. So I'm going to start with my hanging strap, double-sided tape down the center. I'm going to fold those edges in. And I'm not 100% sure what the directions say to do. It's probably something similar to this, but I'm doing like almost like a faux rolled handle where I'm taking this folded into the center, and then I'm going to fold it in half again, and I'm going to leave like 1.5 to 2 inches from the outside edge unsewn so that it kind of ends up looking like that. So you've got raw ends showing there, but I'm going to start and then I'm doing it on the folded edge. So here, this is left open. I'm trying to think of what you would call this, like the rolled under edge, the open edge, the floor edge. It's fine. It wouldn't be a tutorial if I didn't throw something on the ground, right? Right. Okay, so I'm starting about 1.5 inches from that end, the open end. I'm going to backstitch a few times. And then I'm coming down the side, and then I'm going to stop about 1.5 inches from the outer edge, backstitch a few times, and then I'm going to clip my threads. You could thread zap for this, I just don't feel like reaching for it. My shoulder is killing me. Well, it's hurting me, it's not killing me, but it very much hurts. So many actions like that, I don't feel so great. I'm not liking it. Okay, so last step for prepping the back panel is this back accent strap. So I'm just adding a piece down the center. And then instead of folding everything really close, I'm gonna leave it more open so I've got some of the sticky tape showing, so when I push this down it stays in place. So I've left like 1/4 inch in there open. I'm gonna fold this back panel in half. I'm gonna snip the centers just a little bit. Oh, that didn't feel good. I can never remember the measurements, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that I wanna put this 2 inches from the top. So I'm gonna make a mark that's 2 inches from the top, and then I'm gonna make a mark from there perpendicularly about 1 inch out. Okay, well that is impossible to see. So there's my 2 inches down, and then there's 1 inch, and I made a mark, 1 inch, and I made a mark. This thing is a mess. I don't know why it's a mess, but it is. So then I'm gonna take one of my back straps with the, I'm gonna call this the wrong side, this part that I folded over, wrong side up, and I'm gonna lay that like 1/4 inch below where I marked, because I'm going to sew where I marked. So I'm laying that over the 1 inch that I marked, and then I'm going to grab my hanging strap, and you want these raw edges to be face down. You don't want to be able to see those. And you can see that I've sewn this unevenly, but that's okay because I'm just going to kind of maneuver it down a little further so that it is even, because I'm not perfect. So I'm gonna fold it to where it's even. And then I'm just gonna trim that excess off. Like it never happened. And I'm gonna lay that next to the strap. And these are gonna go right next to each other. Right up against each other. I'm opening that part and laying it flat. So it's like a hand if it were folded, I'm pushing it down. And then again, back accent strap, face down, wrong side up, and stitching that in place. Okay. And then I'll show you guys an up close of what I mean, because I'm very visual and words, I'm just like, wait, what? Okay, so strap, grab handle, strap. And wrong sides facing up for both of those. Yeah, who was that? Hi, Connor. You gonna lay in the chair? Okay, sorry. Hey, now you can see him. That's Connor. If you've not met Connor, that's my other cat. He's not usually super active. He just sleeps. And that's okay. Okay, and then this back accent strap, back accent panel is going to go over top of it all. And this is kind of why I like to keep some of that tape free, I guess you could say, is so that I can push it down into place. And I like to overlap these accents pretty far so that I can reinforce them with lines of stitching. So I'm going to go across the top once, come down, go around the bottom, and then I'm going to come back up and then sew about 1/4 of an inch from my other top stitch. So I'm going to reinforce those straps twice, technically 3 times, because they've already got a line of stitching, so they shouldn't go anywhere. Back stitch, back stitch, back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. Okay, and then again, 1/4 of an inch from my existing line of stitching. And then I'm just doing little reverse stitches as I sew across it, just for even more reinforcement. So it might be hard to see this way, but when I flip it over, you can see this is our basting stitch. And then we've got our 2 lines, and then, yeah. There you go. Okay, so then the last thing we need to add to our back panel, besides rivets, but I can even do that before I finish the bag, is the other strap connectors and then our foam. This is totally personal preference. You can fuse your foam before you sew everything together. I like to fuse it after because I feel like once you stitch through the foam, it creates like a folding point of the foam because you're compressing it. So I don't really love to stitch over my foam. So that's my TED Talk. Thanks for coming. Okay, so these back connectors, I like to sew them about 1 inch from the bottom, and you're going to kind of angle them out at about a 45-degree angle. So yeah, 1 inch from the bottom, a 45-degree angle. And this you can kind of play with. So there's that. And then I'm just gonna baste these onto the bag. Please don't throw that ruler into the trash. My mother bought this for me and everything. Okay, I'm grabbing one of my foam pieces. I'm using Pellon single-sided fusible foam. I'd say it's about 1/4 inch thick. She thick. Oh my goodness. I tried to make 3 of them with a pocket on the front. I gave it a good old college try and I was like, I just don't like this. So there's so many different ways you can add a different pocket to the front. It's so fun. I'll show you guys how I do mine, of course, but so I'm laying it fusible side to the vinyl. And I'm just gonna baste it in place for now, but you can actually steam the back side of the foam and it will fuse to the vinyl. Be careful, of course, but it does work. So I'm just gonna baste around the outside, around the outside. Okay. So now that's all well and good, but I'm just gonna quickly, oh, you guys can't see. Don't touch your vinyl, but just add heat and some steam. And then you can even press on the wrong side of the vinyl while it's all still warm if your hands can take it, and it'll help fuse it. It's not perfect, but your foam doesn't really need to be fused because it's just adding stability. So it's like, it's fine. Okay, so now, zipper panel. I changed this up also quite a bit. I'm gonna tell you what I do. I like to make mine with foam, no, without foam. And I use Decaville Light cut out of the seam allowance, and then I cut the same exact width for my lining as I do my exterior. So that's where I'm gonna differ from the pattern. And I'm gonna fuse this really quick. This leather-backed vinyl can take ironing a lot easier than marine vinyl. So I'm just gently pressing my iron for a few seconds at a time over the Decaville Light. And what's nice is Decaville Light fuses pretty quick. It's better to do this with a heat press because you're gonna get more even heat safer. But I forgot to use the heat press, so we're doing it after. It's probably gonna lift a little bit. Another safe way to do that is to iron your ironing board first, get it really, really warm, lay your Decaville face up, and then set your vinyl face down on top of it. So like this on top, and just push, apply even pressure and the heat, and it should fuse. And that is from gotinterfacing.com. So really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and fuse Decaville Light to my bottom panel. I used to use Decaville Heavy on the bottom panel, and I was just like, it's a backpack. It doesn't need to be super, super sturdy. So I'm trying a few with the Decaville Light and seeing how I like it. So I'm just gonna fuse that really quick. Okay, done. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on my zipper panel so that it's out of the way. I like to add 2 zippers to the zipper panel. So I'm using Zipper by the Yard. Just gonna iron it really quick just to get out any wrinkles there may have. I'm gonna cut it about 2 inches longer than I need it to be. I'm gonna use this zipper genie. You can also use a fork. It doesn't have to be a zipper genie. But what you're gonna do, I know a lot of people have been really confused about how to use it. You set the center of your zipper on it, like that. And then your ends are free to slide the zipper by the yard into. So you just set it on top, and then you want to come in at a 45-degree angle and just pull. And since I'm making this a double zipper, you're going to go in from the opposite end and add your zippers so that the pointy part of your zippers are pointing towards each other. They're looking at each other like, you, hey. So, and this is kind of tricky. You want to make sure that you get them on evenly and there's no weird gaps in your zipper tape. Ah, perfect. So you can see there is a tiny little bulge, but that's because you have two big zipper pieces coming together, but there is no gapping between the two. So I did good. Hey Ben, what's up? This is nylon zipper by the yard. I can't tell you what supplier I got it from because it's from my hardware supplier. I'm testing it out. I'm trying to see if I like it to offer it to you guys as well. We'll see. Oh, I took your spot. Sorry. Can you lay down? Lay down. Go on. Go, 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 go. We're trying to do a quick tutorial here. My zipper pulls are actually a light gold. And then the zipper tape is more of a bright gold. It doesn't match perfectly, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so zipper by the yard, face down on the exterior panel. Because I'm using two zipper pulls, it isn't going to matter which way I start with first. Like which side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a clip to the bottom so that I don't unzip it off, and I'm just laying my zipper face down. Yeah, I'm still not sure about this zipper by the yard. It feels really nice, and it doesn't seem to have wrinkles. It could just be the samples I got though, so probably gonna do a test batch because I'm terrified of ordering like thousands of yards of something that I hate. I won't do it. So now you could baste your zipper in place if you wanted to, but it should stay pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is lay my lining face down, so we're making a zipper sandwich. I'm gonna switch my stitch length to a 4, and I'm gonna sew about 1/4 inch seam allowance, pretty much as close to the zipper teeth as possible. So this is where I'm differing from the pattern because it's meant to be a drop-in lining, which if you're a fan of, please absolutely do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with drop-in linings other than I am not a fan of them. So it's all personal preference. So I'm going to fold the lining back and press using steam, being very careful not to hurt anything. And then I'm going to press my exterior face down over that, and just gonna sew. I'm gonna top stitch about 1/8 inch from the edge, stitch length of 5, and I'm going to pull on the seam, pulling my zipper out and creating a nice edge to sew down. So there's the lining side, there's the exterior. I'm the same way, Allie. I'm not a huge fan. Some people love them. I think that's awesome that you have the patience for it. That and binding, it's like, it's awesome that you have the patience for it. I applaud you. I can't do it. Not for me. And that's what's cool about bag making, is they're all different kinds of styles. Nothing's right or wrong. So love it. All right, so clipping again, right sides together, just making a zipper panel sandwich. Jaded asked, what is a drop-in lining? So that's where you make your exterior. You make your lining and you drop in your lining and then sew it to your exterior. Some bags are considered a drop-in lining, but they're not necessarily as complicated. Don't eat your zipper sandwich. So that's kind of the difference there. And I feel like as a new sewist, unless you try it, you won't know if you hate it. But I think that they're very complicated to perfect. I've done a lot of them and I've half-assed them. So it's just not super easy. And this may seem more complicated than a drop-in lining to some people. I know a friend of mine was watching me make this and she's like, that seems harder than just doing a drop-in lining. So it's all personal preference. Okay, so I'm just repeating my steps from the other side. Folding that down, top stitching pretty close to the outer edge. And I've had some fun with my zipper panels actually, where like let's say that your machine can't handle super thick seams and you're making your zipper panel out of fabric. I've cut like a 2-inch piece of vinyl and kind of made accents along the zipper and it looked really cool. So just kind of fun ideas like that. If you scroll through boxlunch.com or Hot Topic, you'll find tons of different backpacks and you can kind of hack this pattern to mimic any of those in some fun ways. Okay, so now I'm looking for my exterior lower zipper panel and my lining exterior zipper panel. And these are going to be these long rectangles, not this wide rectangle. This is something else. So I'm going to start on this end just because I'm going to lay my exterior face down on that panel and kind of line it up as best you can. So face down, here's my zipper panel, right side up. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew 1/2 inch in. You're going to avoid sewing on your zipper panel or through your lining. So this is where it gets kind of tricky and you're just going to fold it out of the way. You're going to sew here, back stitch, jump over, and sew there. So there. I'm going to switch my stitch length to a 4. And as I'm getting to my lining panel, I'm just back stitching, lifting up the foot, and jumping over it. Back stitch, continuing straight. And so here's what that ends up looking like. I did not sew through any of this, so as soon as I cut this thread, my lining will come loose. Be free! And then here's what it looks like from this side, and I don't cut that jump thread. So now, excuse you. Are you mad because you're not on camera? Oh, rude. So now I'm laying my lining face down on my lining, so right sides together, and we're going to repeat that, but now we're going to move our exterior out of the way. So this gets a little trickier, a little thicker. Ben, you're messing with my coloring. Please move. Okay, stitch length of 4, moving my exterior panel out of the way. Again, keeping up that 1/2 inch seam allowance. As I get close, I'm going to back stitch and I'm going to lift up and fold the other side of my lining panel. And back stitch. And this method is kind of adapted from something that Jessica Cruzon of Sew de Kind did in a Betty video. So here's what it's looking like from this side. I'm just gonna clip this little thread here and everything will come loose. And now we have our lining and our exterior kind of separate. But we have this little hole open here that we have to take care of. So what we're gonna do is fold our lining and our exterior down, line up those seam allowances, and I'm just going to top stitch the width of my zipper. So something you can do here is start up here, come down around and go back up, and that kind of secures it a little better and makes it look a little nicer. But what I don't mind doing is just sewing back stitch, straight, back stitch. So that's what I'm gonna do. Stitch length of 5, making sure that my seam allowances are folded down nice and straight. I'm gonna back stitch, go forward and back stitch. And the reason that you do not want to sew across this entire panel is we want our lining to come free from our exterior. So that's really important. So if you sewed all the way from here to here, this panel could not be separated, so you'd have to do a binding for your lining. We don't want to do that. We want this to be able to come free, be separate from each other. So we're going to repeat that with the other side, but the first thing we want to do is make sure our zipper pulls come inside, come in from the cold. We don't do binding. I mean, I don't do binding. You can do binding. It looks beautiful in the finished project and like your lining is nice and tight, but oh man, I just don't have the patience for it. All right, so we're repeating the steps and then we do it again. Exterior to exterior, face down. See, I'm doing it in reverse order now. It doesn't matter which way you go. It really doesn't. Okay, switch your stitch length back to 4 1/2 inch seam allowance. Back stitch, move the lining out of the way. Ain't got time or patience for binding. Okay, so again, back stitch. And if you can't sew, like if your machine has trouble sewing super close to the zipper, I really think that's okay. You can just extend your your final stitching along the top a little bit. So you can see here, I didn't get to sew super close, but I'll just extend that stitch line. And another thing you can do with this that's kind of cool is you could add a little like a little connector with a D-ring there to clip things to. You can just add a little piece of fabric to like hold on to while you're zipping or unzipping. I know my friend Jabby really likes to do that. So it's a way to kind of insert a little something as well. So switching my stitch length back to a 5. I'm gonna make sure that my seam allowance is laying nice and flat. I am keeping my zipper tape as long as it was, and I'm just gonna sew over it. Sometimes when I get in the zone of sewing, I forget how much pain I'm in. So that's why I'm reaching for this now. I'm like in the zone, my brain is like, nope, just do your thing. Just do it. Do it. Okay, so trimming all of my little excess threads. they are displeasing me to see. So we've got our zipper panel pretty much finished. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, and then across the top of the panel I'm going to snip my centers. And I want to make sure that I go through the exterior and the lining. We want to snip all the centers. Now we're going to work on the side pockets. So we're going to need our longer rectangles. That's one thing that is so hard about this bag, I mean sewing in general, is that there's so many different things to like prep before you actually get to it. Okay, so these side pockets, I'm using exterior fabric. I have 1 layer of woven fuse, and I have 1 layer of waterproof canvas, which is from fwdfabrics.com. Is my pain from arthritis? I don't believe so. I've been going roller skating on Tuesdays as a way to exercise, and I think I tripped and fell. Well, I know I tripped and fell. Just once this time, but the way I fell, I hit my knee, which hurt my back, and then I can't remember because I was too embarrassed, but I think I may have hit my elbow, which like jammed my shoulder. I'll be fine. So I've got these clipped, and I'm gonna sew about a 1/2 inch from the top. Stitch length of 4. Top edge for both of these. I have cousins in North Carolina, and they used to make fun of me, I mean they still do, for the way I say both. So do you say both or do you say both? Because I used to say both, but it's both. Miss them. Okay, so I've only I've only sewn across the top. Both, yeah. But you can press it. I'm just gonna fold it and stitch along the top and the bottom. I mean, honestly, you could baste around all 4 sides if it's easier. And this is another place where you could add a little bit of vinyl to kind of add some fun accents. The pattern includes instructions for adding elastic, as well as just doing like the pleated side pocket. So there's one panel right now. And then folding this one down. And then there's the other one. Where you lead, I will follow. Anywhere that you tell me to, if you need. All right, so now I'm going to fold these in half. I'm gonna snip along the center of the bottom only. Don't snip the top. That wouldn't be good. And this is for the pleated version of the pocket only. Okay, so snipping that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, I mean, there's measurements in the pattern, but I just eyeball it. I'm pinching the fabric together. I'm taking the outside edge in and under towards the inside. And repeating that. So hopefully you can see, kind of pinching that under that way. And I'm only able to eyeball this because I've made so many of this backpack at this point. And then to make sure that you've got your pleat right, you can lay it on top of your fabric Oh, it's right. Do you have any doubts? It's right. So this is what that pleat looks like. Your exterior fabric should kind of have like a little spine to it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna baste along the bottom. Make sure you hold that pleat in place. I like to backstitch over it. Okay, so there's what that looks like. There's the wrong side, and you can kind of flatten this out a little bit better. But yeah, super cute. And then what's cool about this backpack is those side pockets actually hold a water bottle. It's really nice. Okay, so honestly, there's two ways of describing this. You're either folding the center fabric over the exterior fabric, or the way I said the first time. And I'm just adding 2 clips. I'm gonna line it up, make sure it fits. And then basting that pleat together. Oop, oop. These are not my usual snips. I don't know what snips they are, but they're not. Okay, so next part, these pockets are totally optional. You don't have to add the pockets if you want. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to clip my lining out of the way. If you trust yourself to not sew your lining fabric, then I trust you not to sew the lining fabric and you don't have to clip it. But if you're not sure that you can, clip it out of the way, and you're gonna lay the bottom pleat with the bottom of the zipper panel. I like to add 3 clips to keep that in place. You can add as many as you want. And then you're basically making like a shoe organizer pocket. That's how I like to describe it. And you're lining up the edges with the side panel. And these should line up exactly or just above where the side bottom panel meets the top. So there's that panel, and it's like literally just above. So then you're just gonna sew around in a U shape. Make sure your lining's out of the way, guys. Please. Do yourself a favor. Do the right thing. Basting that all together. Lining, you good? Yeah, you good. So now you can move your lining back down. So there is that pocket. And then repeat. Make sure you clip your lining out of the way. Don't say I didn't told you. Tell you. Don't say I didn't told you. That's not right. Okay, lining's out of the way. Alrighty. So here's where I'm going to try to do a square bottom on this bag. So we're basically going to make a giant gusset. I've made backpacks with a gusset, so I don't know why it's so hard, but it is. So I've got my bottom lining, I've got my bottom exterior. And the biggest problem I had the last time I tried to do this was that the measurements I used, which are basically the round bottom panel cut to a square, they're just a little bit too long. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shave it just a little bit, just a little. I'm cutting like 1/8 of an inch off, and you could save these actually to tie onto like little zipper pulls too. gonna shave it a little bit. You could also add purse feet at this point if you wanted. Again, it's a backpack. It's only a backpack. Really don't need purse feet. The first couple I did, I added purse feet, and then I was like, why? Why am I doing this? I don't know. Get my hair out of my way. Get out of here. Goodbye. Okay, it's fine. I don't think I've sewn past 10 in the longest time. It's crazy. All right, I'm starting with the exterior. They all request purse feet? That's crazy. That's awesome though. I mean, you set your backpack down a lot, so it makes sense. All right, I'm going to lay the bottom panel down. And do about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to fold this seam down and top stitch along the bottom panel. Goodbye. Okay, maybe they're over here. Are you my snips? Oh yeah. You're my snips. And then repeat that with the other side. Make sure my lining's out of the way. I feel like my bobbin's gonna give soon. You're my snips. And top stitch across the bottom. Even. Pull that. Okay, so we've got this big round piece here, and then I'm repeating those steps with the lining. Oh. Got too confident. My thread came out. I got excited by the cat. And then it's really your call if you want to top stitch your lining panel too. I'm not going to, just because this brown thread isn't going to look beautiful on this blue. But I ain't changing the thread color. Not no way, not no how. So now I've got this big round gusset. You want to make sure that your lining and your exterior are pretty close to the same size. If your lining's a little bit smaller, that's okay. That's okay. So now I want to mark the bottom center of my exterior and my lining. I forgot to do this last time and that really messed me up. So again, mark your centers with a little snip or something. I might top stitch those down actually. Yeah, I'm gonna top stitch it just so it's consistent. And so I'm top stitching along the bottom. So pushing my seam towards the bottom panel. Really sorry again if you guys are asking questions. I've noticed Kira has been helping answer and a lot of other people too. I feel like I've answered so many questions that at this point, someone besides me knows it and can answer. So, appreciate you. All right, much better. Marking the centers of the bottom panel. Ooh, nice. Ooh. And I'm just gonna set this aside because we still have to do our exterior front panel and our lining panels. So I'm adding 2 zippered pockets, one to the exterior. Tracy, it is the vinyl I got at FM. I think it's the one that I was like, do I need all of this? I don't know. Let's do it. Yeah, I love it though. Okay, so I'm going to work on my lining first because I'm almost out of bobbin and I'd rather run out on the lining than the exterior. So, double-sided tape, 1/4 inch wide. I'm gonna start on this edge that doesn't look so great. The bottom of this slip pocket. So this slip pocket is not part of the pattern, so I can tell you the measurements. It's 11 inches wide by 6 inches tall. I'm gonna peel off my double-sided tape and I'm gonna fold this edge up or down, whichever way you are looking at it. I'm just folding it over. My double-sided tape is from wahwhack.com. Honestly, you could use the double-sided tape both sides. I'm just using the one. I'm gonna fold the other side over and top stitch. So whichever edge you didn't use tape on. The one I'm top stitching is the free edge. That's the one people are gonna slip stuff into it through. So, across the top. Up. You good? Yeah, you're good. Awesome. Okay, so about 2.5 inches from the bottom, I'm laying this slip pocket down and I'm gonna sew in a U shape. You can sew a center divider if you want. I'm not going to, so I'm just following the shape of the bottom panel or the main panel, sewing across the edge that I haven't already sewn over. It's the one with double-sided tape. Coming back over the other side. And so now we've added a slip pocket, and that only took us 2 seconds. So I'm going to trim my excess off from the back side. See how you can see your excess here? Just going to trim that off. Look at that stitching. Nailed it. All right, so with this panel as well, I'm going to fold it in half, snip the top center, snip the bottom center, set it aside. See you in a minute. All right, I've got my 2 zippered pocket pieces here. I'm gonna grab my zipper template from topsandbobbins.com. I'm gonna add a 7-inch box to the wrong side of one of the pieces. And repeat. I pretty much add a 7-inch zipper to every bag. There aren't many where I'm like, let's add an 8 or a 9. So. You. All right, I'm just checking to see if I have enough zipper tape. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my last 2 zipper pulls to this tape. Let's not forget to add a nameplate. I feel like I always do that with backpacks. You can do, someone asked, when snipping your center, you do just a line, not like a notch, kind of like traditional sewing patterns. You can absolutely add a notch if that's easier for you. I just like to add the tiniest little snip, because at this point my eyes are like trained to look for that, but I would say personal preference. You do you. Okay. Whoop. So I'm just really quick adding both my zipper pulls. So this tape that I'm thinking about carrying, probably not. I'm gonna get some more samples. It's not super thin, but if you've tried my Handmade Space, it's not as thick as that. It feels really soft, but it isn't quite silky and flimsy, so I'm still on the fence. And I would never want to sell something that I am unsure on the quality. So yes, I just used my zipper genie to add the zipper pulls. You can also use a fork, whatever works. So lining, second piece, I'm adding a zippered pocket. I'm gonna go ahead, while I'm already folding it in half, just snip the centers. I'm gonna lay my zipper pocket right side together, just straight over top, and I'm kind of lining it up probably 4.5 inches from the top. It's just 4, I overshot. So about 4 inches from the top, I'm adding this zipper pocket. You can add it a little lower, but this feels right. So I'm just gonna sew 2 parallel lines. You can make your zipper pocket 6 inches inside too if you wanted, but I find that 7 inches fits great inside the backpack. Okay, so I'm gonna just cut this open. If there's a different zipper pocket method you like to use, I know it's So Kelly, I think that's her YouTube channel. She has a video showing how she adds a no raw edge zipper pocket. I haven't watched the video, but I know it exists. I just feel like once I watch it, I'll want to do it that way, and this is what I know, so I'm resisting learning something new. Awful. Okay, so I'm going to turn this through and press from the top using quite a bit of steam. Get everything nice and crispy without burning it, of course. Oh no. Well, good thing I have water here. I'm running out of water in my iron. And when you're working with waterproof canvas, you can't not have steam, in my opinion. All right. All right. It's the best tumbler. Yeah. Yeah. All right, pressing it. I'm kind of rolling the seam in between my fingers. Okay. Got it nice and flat. Feels good. Cutting my zipper tape a little bit longer than the opening because I want it to be within the seam allowances of the side, so there's no... Oh good, there are plenty of videos showing you how to attach a zipper pull without a zipper genie because it is very expensive and unnecessary. I just bought it, I don't know. I got suckered into it. I'm a sucker for it. Stitching that in place. Stitch stitch length 4.5. Such concentration. Don't you do it, Bobbin. Don't you run out on me. Let's have a good day, okay? Let's show each other mutual respect. Not yet. Could be soon, but not yet. All right, so I'm going to leave the bottom of this pocket open. It's gonna be our birthing hole, spoiler alert. So I'm gonna sew in a U shape starting from the bottom. Back stitch, come up, go around, back down. And I'm just going to trim the excess. Flipping that up, and I'm going to press. And then our lining's ready to go. Now all we have to do is the front exterior, and then we're ready to put it together. So, for the front exterior, here are many things that you can do. I've done a few different ways. And that's what's kind of fun, is that if you look at a pocket and, Charisse, yeah, please feel free. Always feel free. Animals, sewing, it's fine. Anyway, so what I've done before is kind of cut it at 6 inches, and then sewn lining, and then added like vinyl accent to the top to make a slip pocket. I've seen people just do one big zipper along the front. I've added like a zipper accent overlay along the top. I personally love a vertical zipper on here, just because I think it's really easy to access your phone in and out of. I don't know why, and it looks cool, so I keep doing it. I'm trying to think of what else. You could add like a hidden flap if you have the Elaine handbag pattern by yours truly. I have like a hidden flap, or the dragon sling by XOXO Lauren also has instructions for something similar. So yeah, there's all different ways of attaching a zipper. If you're gonna do it along the top, make sure it's a 6-inch zipper, not a 7-inch. And then I think the biggest I've been able to get across the main panel is 7 inches, but again, do you really need more than 7 inches? Okay, that's enough jokes about that. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and lay my zipper panel along the top. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up that box where I would like my zipper to go. So this is something you can kind of play around with placement wise, see where you want to put it, all that good stuff. So yeah, you could even, that might be kind of fun. No, I don't like it. You could do like a vertical pocket, something like that, but just make sure you make it look diagonal. I said vertical, diagonal. But make sure you make it look like purposeful, you know? And this honestly might be even cuter with that like hidden flap or something. So I'm just gonna do a vertical kind of up along here. And so I know that it's square, it's good. So I'm just gonna do 2 vertical stitch lines. That are parallel. And what's nice about using zipper by the yard is you can, I mean, you can do this with regular zippers too, but you can decide the length of your zipper, you know? The possibilities are endless. All right. So I'm just gonna snip this open. You can add a vinyl overlay to this. Also, Tops and Bobbins has templates for that are super cute, or you can print one out or just kind of eyeball it. But those are always really a fun way to kind of class up the bag as well. Especially if you're doing like 2 different colored vinyls or something, like color block. It's super cute. So I didn't fuse the foam to this panel because it's hard to add a zipper pocket with foam. It's possible, it's just a lot of extra steps. So what I'm doing is folding this all down, adding a lot of steam. So much steam. And then if your little extra triangles start to come down, you can just kind of yank them up, yank them back up. All right, and then for the zipper, I want to make sure that it's zipping up. Oh gosh, this zipper with it. So your zipper pull is at the top. So I'm gonna start at the bottom and come up, but before I do, I feel like I'm cheating chicken bobbin by changing my bobbin now. Yeah, I knew it was gonna run out. You almost got me. Almost got me. Okay, new bobbin. Okay. Not today, bobbin. Not today. Yes, this is number 5 zipper tape. All right, so I'm just kind of eyeballing this into place. Start along bottom side. And right now I have my zipper pull kind of off the edge of the fabric, but I'm gonna pull it back down. I'm really struggling right now with posting inventory. Like, I want to be able to sell online on my website, and there's no reason I can't other than I'm prepping for a convention. Like, I have been since October, basically. This convention is at the end of February, but it's like the biggest convention. It's insane. So like all the stuff I'm making now is for that convention. I'm like, do I post pictures and post online? If it sells, that's awesome, I'll make more. Or do I just hold on to it? I'm struggling. I don't know. So I think one of my friends, my friend Brittany, I think she suggested, like, why don't you just post inventory up until a week before Christmas, and then anything after that you don't post? And I was like, you're right. Maybe it was Josie, maybe it was Brittany. Maybe it was just Tammy. Maybe it was no one. Maybe I have no real friends, and they're all in my head. finishing off that top stitch. So I'm just trimming the excess zipper tape so that it's only like that. And then I'm gonna sew all the way around the 4 sides. You don't want to leave anything undone, and if you're worried your stitching might come loose with pens or something, you can always add 2 lines of stitching. Are we at 300 people? What the heck? Anyway, I gotta continue. I am using Tex 92 thread. This is from Superior Threads, but I highly recommend getting thread from Sunny Sewing Machines. They have Tex 90 bonded polyester, and their Tex 70 nylon thread is also very good. And I mean, they're just really nice, guys. Not sponsored. Okay. I'm just trimming the excess. I don't know why. I don't normally. But like, you can see here, this pocket goes a little bit higher up there. So there's the zipper pocket. It's so cute. So cute. So yeah, what I'm gonna do now is fuse my foam. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Sherry asked, are you going to have any more red poison apple fabric? I haven't decided what fabrics I'm going to be running in January. I just posted December's fabrics. If you guys want, you can go to moremino.com/collections/fabric and you'll see the fabrics I have. But I haven't decided how much longer I'm going to be running fabric because it's a lot of work. And I know pre-orders would sell better, but I just don't have the mental capacity for pre-orders, so I may bring those back. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to be very gently fusing my foam at this time, using a lot of steam, a lot of even pressure, because honestly what's going to be fused is just that pocket underneath. So even pressure, make sure your fabric doesn't have any wrinkles, and fuse that on. And then you can also press from the back side if you want. But then I'm gonna baste it in place because that's gonna compress the edges of our panel to make it easier to sew with, especially on a domestic. And then, if you were thinking that we were going to snip our centers, you would be right. So, folding this in half, snipping the center, and then I'm going to add my nameplate, so I don't forget. I don't know where I want to add it though. I think maybe like, oh, I can add it there. Whew, man, am I glad I didn't, because that would be real dumb. So I'm going to add it up here at the top, the tippy top. Fuse it a little bit more from the back side, so it doesn't go anywhere. I've got my center marked, so I'm just going to come down from there, mark here. Making sure that's folded out nicely. There's my center. I feel like no matter how hard I work to make sure that my nameplate is like perfectly centered, it never fails to be off just by like a little bit. So take your time, don't get discouraged. It's okay. But yeah, if you're adding a nameplate to the front of your bag, make sure that it doesn't go through your pocket. Kind of defeats the purpose of a pocket. Make sure your nameplate is on face up. I like it. I like it. No more fabrics. Yeah, and a lot of people like that cargo pocket on the front. Nothing wrong with it. It's well-written pattern instructions, but it's a little complicated. And it can get a little thick if you're using a lot of interfacing. So I definitely got upset doing it also. The name of the place for the thread is Sunny Sewing Machines. Awesome. And I think they have a Black Friday Cyber Monday thing going on where you enter in the code FB Group 5 and you get 5% off. Lauren in sassy rare form. I am. I think I'm a little slap happy, tired, long day, want to go to bed. But so there's our front panel. I like it. You guys, everything's ready to go. We just have to put it together. So I'm headed out for the night. Just kidding. Just kidding. Lining first. You hear me? Lining first. You're gonna thank me later. All right, so the slip pocket I'm gonna start with because I don't like my zipper pockets to be facing each other. So yeah. I was about to say I mark my front zipper pocket on my back. No, I don't. Tammy does. Thank you. So the back of the zipper is the thicker part. And so we're gonna start with the front. For the front. So this is the thinner part of the zipper. I'm going to be turning this loose, loosey-goosey. And I'm going to start by clipping the center at the top. And we're just going to work our way around. So I'm connecting the slipper pocket. Slip pocket. To the front panel, which is the thinner panel first. That's where we're at. Okay. And then line up my center snips along the bottom. And then I think I'm going to kind of curve these pieces. So I'm just trimming off a little tiny bit. Especially in the lining, this isn't going to matter much. But we're going to test out how this works. Oh, that feels so much nicer. So I've literally just trimmed off the tiniest amount of that corner in a curve. It's gonna be good. I can feel it in my bones. What do you think, Ben? Gonna be good? He just sniffed at me like, yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, so here's what we're looking at. Front panel, slip pocket. So you've got all of this kind of pushed out of the way, and we're gonna sew at about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure you're pushing everything out of the way. I would change the video view if I could, and it would still be easy to see, but it's not, so I apologize. But starting on one side, making sure everything stays together. And I'm just sewing from clip to clip, dancing from cheek to cheek. What do you say? I don't know. Make sure panels stay together. And we're going around that bottom curve. So really slowly And for this lining panel, we're sewing all the way around, but when we get to the other side of the lining, we're gonna leave it open so that we can turn through. So the seam allowance I'm using is about 1/2 inch. You can kind of scale it up to be a little bit wider since it is the lining also. And if you need to, you can kind of check how it looks and sew around it again. Oh, you dirty rat. Caught my exterior panel in my back stitch. I got a little too excited. Okay, looks good though. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim my excess seam allowance right now. You don't want too much extra in your lining, just hanging out. Goodbye. Okay, into the trash. How old are my fur babies? Ben is like 7 or 8. Connor is probably 11. And they're all really close to me at this moment in time. Okay, because I didn't heat press my Decaville light, it's kind of turning up a little bit. That's okay. I don't love that, but it's okay. Okay, so now we're going to work on the front panel. Okay? You want to do it, you don't want to do all of your lining at once, you don't want to do all of your exterior at once. So, Sam, how's it going? So Sam is a very important VIP employee of Sunny Sewing Machines. And I have an announcement soon about Sunny Sewing Machines. But not yet. I'm not ready yet to announce it to the world. Okay. Well, I've mentioned it before, so it's not any different. Okay, so front panel, again, it's that thinner zipper panel. They're not the same size. I'm going to start by clipping you tease. Come to Dallas and visit, that's what I'm gonna do. I know I've mentioned it quite a bit, but Anne has been working so hard with Sunny Sewing Machines to put together a one-day workshop in late April. So it's gonna be a limit of 15 people per class, and there's gonna be a total of 2 classes. And I'm really excited. So Sunny Sewing Machine has been great. They are actually going to provide the sewing machines for everyone to play with. Like, what? So it's like a dream come true for me, honestly. So we're gonna be posting about tickets and how to pay, how to reserve your spot, probably within the next like 2 weeks or so. So that you can tell people that's what you want for Christmas, yo. Kira, we're gonna party, but not that way, me personally. Okay, so my bottom corners are square when they need to be a little curved. So I'm just giving a little gentle curve. B-Day peeps get first shot. We're gonna be posting a lot of information. I'm gonna do like a whole dedicated video, so hopefully nobody says they missed it or anything, because I'll be heartbroken, but it's not like we're only going to do it once. So, and my birthday's April Fool's Day, guys. My life is a joke, the whole thing. Oh, Lisa, that's exciting. You'll have to stop by Sunny Sewing Machines. Ooh, guys. Okay, this panel is fitting much better than it did the first time I made it. So shaving off about 1/8 of an inch definitely worked. So that's good. Kind of getting it smashed in place. And then we're just gonna sew around the outer edge. Okay, back to sewing. Stitch length of 4. So I just went super slow around the outer edge, and then you can see my little Decaville piece. I'm gonna try and steam that back. Heat press, everybody, heat press. Saves time. So I'm going to check to make sure that I've sewn past all of my basting stitch, and I'm just going to kind of turn this just to make sure it looks okay, and then I'll trim it. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's still... I think I could still stand to lose a little bit from that panel. Yeah, I like it overall. Oh yeah, good idea, double-sided tape to stick that Decaville down. But I think once it's all sewn together, it'll stay in place. So, where did I go? Oh. Honestly, I could probably just take it out. I'll add a piece of double-sided tape. Couldn't hurt. All right, trimming down that seam allowance. Definitely didn't do 1/2 inch seam allowance on the exterior, but I'm not gonna go any further in. I am not a seam allowance like stickler. I think so long as everything kind of still fits together, you're probably fine. So I did a little bit wider of a seam allowance in the lining, which means it's going to fit nicely. And I just need to keep a consistent seam allowance with the exterior side. So we're going to flip this back through so that the wrong sides are together. So you can see there's the front panel and there's the front panel lining. And I'm going to start with my my lining panel for the back side. And then I'll focus on my other panel. So, lining panel, back side, we're going to start with the top center snip and clip around. And if you remember from earlier, I said we're not going to sew the lining bottom. Still true to this day. I do need to curve that just a little. Get back. So I'm still going to clip it, but I'm not going to sew the bottom. We're just going to go around the curve and then we're going to leave the bottom open. You can still birth this through the zipper pocket, but it's a lot easier to do it through the lining and not worry about that zipper being in the way too much. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully you guys can see everything okay from this angle. I feel like it's probably fine. Shoulder. I also have a super fun mail opening video coming. I've gotten so many packages, so excited to open them. All right. So here's what we're looking at. I'm gonna start sewing down in this corner, and you can see there's the gusset. So we're gonna start probably just right around here so that we can lock this in place, but leave a big enough opening. And it's gonna be about the same size as their zipper pocket. So if you feel like this is useless to you, don't worry about leaving it open. But I think it really helps. You don't have to worry about yanking on that zipper tape or anything like that. And then we're going to stop when we get back to this curve, back stitch. Okay? Okay. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Okay. Oh, big yawn, Ben. Are you sleeping? Is it bedtime? Starting on that curve. Be mindful of your seam allowance. Make sure it's consistent. I don't mind the round bottom that this bag in the instructions originally have. If you're taking your time and going really slowly around the bottom, it turns out pretty good. But if you're going to be making like 10 or 15 of these at once, if for any reason you are, it gets to be a lot. It's not easy to do the round bottoms and keep it nice and straight when you're doing that many at once. So I've been trying to play with ways to make this go a little bit faster, make it a little bit easier. So we'll see how this works. So I'm getting close to the other bottom curve. So I'm just back stitching. I'm gonna trim all of my seam allowances down. Honestly, Rochelle, I'd love to see how you do yours, but you said you bind it, so never mind. I don't care. I'm just kidding. Hers just looks so nice on that bottom, and I know she does the flat bottom. Okay. Back panel. Back panel. I feel like it's been so long. Hello, back panel, my old friend. Okay, so I'm looking for my center snips. I've come to sew you up again. Bottom panel, there, there. need to curve my corners a little bit. Not cut my finger off, that'd be great. I just had a thought. I was like, man, it feels like I'm running out of clips, but I don't know how I'd be running out of clips. They constantly break. And fly in the air. So yeah, it would make sense that I'm losing some. Okay. So now we're ready to sew it all together. Maria asked if I have done any physical therapy for my back pain. No, I have not. But I feel like Ace Ventura with my hair right now. I haven't actually like seen anybody for it because it's pretty recent that it happened. I'm usually in good health. So you just extend the lines on the pattern so the curved corners are straight from the bottom. Yeah, I guess so. Honestly, I just kind of eyeballed it and like, whoop. Oh, the bottom, yes. So I just cut it as a square. So I laid the curved bottom like underneath a ruler, and yeah, there aren't enough clips, you're right. But that's all the clips that I have here. Although there's some in a drawer anywhere. But anyway. Okay. So I'm just starting wherever convenient and working around the outside. And that Decaville on my exterior panel, the zipper panel, really helps me keep a consistent seam allowance. So that's why I like to trim that down. But it also helps your bag kind of sit nicely when it has that structure limited, if that makes sense. Luckily this shoulder, my left shoulder, doesn't hurt at all. So now I'm going over the back strap connectors. So I'm doing a little back stitch where it starts in the middle and then at the end. You don't want to do too many and perforate your vinyl, but you want to reinforce it because there's going to be quite a bit of strain on that piece. Okay, so now we're on the bottom. Get back. You don't know me like that. Okay. Yeah, and then for that bottom panel, I cut off another 1/8 of an inch just because the first one, it was way too big. And you may decide when you see the finished product that you're like, no, that doesn't look great. But I know that the more I practice, the better I'll get. So let's hope that it looks okay. And I am not cutting through those strap connectors those extra connectors. I'm not going to cut through those just because I don't want to sabotage their strength. Okay. So now I can unclip the bottom. Make sure at this point everything looks pretty good. Alright, now we're ready to birth this bag. I did not unzip it before I started. But that's okay because I can feel them from the lining and unzip. Okay, so this zipper inside is unzipped. My top zipper unzipped. Everything's unzipped. So what we're gonna do is start by grabbing and pushing the exterior bottom through first. So I'm grabbing that, pulling that through. And what's nice is this actually isn't too stiff with the woven fuse and the Pellon and the Decoville, which since I use the light, it adds a lot of stability, but it doesn't add a lot of density. So it's really nice. That's one thing I love about Decoville. So, whew, I've got that through. You can kind of sort what's what. So I can unclip these now. What I'm gonna do is push my hand along the what's now the gusset and just make sure that I caught everything, nothing's coming undone. Kind of give a little yank on your strap connectors. And then do the same for the front panel, pushing out the corners. Push on your pockets because this is an area that's going to get a lot of stress, a lot of pulling. So if anything happens, at least it's in front of you, at least you know it. So you can see that it has a nice shape. Well, not that at the moment, but it will. So everything looks good. Feel pretty happy with it. Let's see what that is. That just looks like a little stray thread from basting. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my lining. I'm going to, this is my zippered pocket where I birthed it. Going to pull that through. So here's my pocket. I'm gonna reach my hand in and grab what we left open in the lining. Pull that through. So this is where it may seem like it's more complicated than it needs to be, but I don't think it is. It's all personal preference, but I've got my center snips already, so I'm just gonna start with those. I'm gonna clip just there, and then I'm gonna start sewing past that curve, and I'm gonna back stitch to kind of further lock that in place. And then sew to the clip, and then work my way around the other side. And make sure you kind of use a fairly wide seam allowance so it doesn't look beautiful, but it's there. And then I'm just going to trim down that excess. And just throw that in the trash. And then I'm going to push that back through the birthing pocket. And then fold that lining inside. And there we go. And then I'm going to sew that shut. I like to add a woven label. I was gonna add one that says you look really pretty today, but I don't have any in my drawer, so I won't. Looks good. I'm gonna tuck that back inside. Okay, so I bought my fusible foam off of Overstock. I've heard there can be discrepancies in the quality, but I honestly haven't had any issues, especially since I'm pretty much always using woven fuse with it anyway. So I think it was like $30 a bolt, which really isn't bad. So there's that. Pretty cute. So there's the bottom panel. You can see here that there's a little tiny crease, not an issue. Okay, so then the last step is to finish up our straps, because right now you could like hold it like this, but it's not gonna stay on your back. And that's another thing that I love about this pattern that I kind of learned by making it. Initially I was like, what? Huh? I don't get it. But now I do, so I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to switch out my thread first because I don't want to use brown thread on black fabric. It's so passe. So I've got two slide adjusters that are 1 inch. These are from moremeknow.com. I could say not sponsored, but I guess technically it is sponsored by me. And then I am using pre-made canvas straps that are 24 inches. I don't know that I'd recommend using polypropylene webbing because it can fray if you don't cut it or fuse it just right. So I've got these two 1 inch slide adjusters and two 24 by 1 inch straps. You can cut this smaller if you know that it's going to be for a smaller armed or smaller sized person. I think this is safe for pretty much any size. So what I'm going to do is take one end and slide it through just the center bar, and then I'm going to fold the raw end over. And do 2 parallel stitch lines across that folded over piece. So there's that. And then repeat for the other side. That's another thing I love about this bag is it doesn't really take much hardware. So you'd have to buy one simple square ring set and 2 1-inch slide adjusters, and that's pretty much it besides your zippers. So it's a really inexpensive, as far as hardware goes, bag to make. And mini backpacks are really popular right now. I know when I was at Disney, like everybody had a mini backpack. It was crazy. So these have been a really fun thing to make. So I just want to applaud, I believe her name is Erin, who made the pattern, like, fulfilling this need in the world of sewing. Okay. I went brain dead for half a second, but I'm back. So we're going to take, this is technically the wrong side where we sewed that. We're going to take that facing up and we're going to slide it through the side, the bottom square ring. We're going to loop through over top and then back through the top to create this adjustable piece, and then we're going to take our top strap and loop that through, and then I'm going to fold this raw end under. So hopefully you guys could see well enough what I was doing, but if not, I'll explain further. So then I'm going to add 2 clips just to keep this in place so I can show you guys. Down here we've got this piece that slide adjusts, and then you've got these 2 pieces of fabric that come together. Let's repeat. So I've got my slide adjuster piece, wrong side up, so where I've sewn this connector. I'm going to loop that through. Make sure that you can fold it in half on itself without any twisting. We're going to slide that through the top, or technically slide it through the bottom, and then back through the top, over top of our slide adjuster. So then you've got this piece that slide adjusts, and then make sure that this is laying face up, go under, and then flip that so there's no raw edges. And then what I like to do before I actually sew it together is just make sure that I've folded these evenly so that it's not like one side is longer than the other. And then I'm going to sew a box stitch. And then I'm going to add rivets. Well, I guess honestly I don't really need to. I need to get some light gold rivets over here, but that's what that looks like. So I'm just going to do a box stitch. To this piece of fabric. And I'm using like a stitch length of 4. Okay, bye. I just knocked the bin over, it's fine. It wasn't my iron or anything. So I'm coming around and then I'm gonna sew diagonally. And you could do both diagonals if you wanted to, but I think just the one is going to be fine. And then trimming my thread, but you can also thread zap it. And that's it. And it only took us 2 hours. Only. Come on. Okay, so as I promised, it's the end of the video now. So what I'm gonna do is answer any questions that you guys post. I'm only gonna be here for about 5 minutes and then I'm gonna hop off. But if you were interested in this tutorial, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This was recorded live and may no longer be live, but yeah, that is the mini backpack. So, questions, let me know. Where is the vinyl from? Maria asks. It's from FM Stores in Springfield, Missouri. Kelly, yes, this video will absolutely be saved. It's gonna stay up. So you can see how nice that Decaville like makes that vinyl feel. You don't have to. I know Rochelle said that she doesn't add any interfacing to her zipper panel and it sits just nicely, just fine. Yes, these are canvas straps that I sell, but I don't have any on my website right now. But you can also just pre-make the straps, honestly. Ben, what do you think? Wow, you were really going crazy for the camera, huh? The waterproof canvas is from fwdfabrics.com. And I think they have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale going on right now. Throughout the video, you mentioned your stitch length was 4. Yes, so when I use vinyl, I'll use like a 4 to a 4.5. Jan asked, when you are doing your zipper opening, why don't you sew the sides? Does it help prevent puckering? Yes, for me it does. So, yeah. Anne said you made that backpack and I made one Devon. Wow, I'm slow. I've been doing this for 5 years now, I think. Yeah, 5 years now. If you guys follow me on Instagram, which is Sewing with Lauren, I posted a bag glow up. Yeah, it's impressive. So yeah, I really love the size of this backpack. Yeah, so is the inside. Sew us, show us. Yes, Cheryl, I'm on it. So there's the inside. You've got a slip pocket here. Benjamin, you gotta get out of the way. And you've got your zipper pocket to the back here. Ben, they love you, but you're in the way. They asked a question. I'm trying to help. Did I mess that up? There's no way. Okay. Ben one's in the bag. Oh, okay. And then, like I said, the side panels. Carol, exactly. Yes, so Mopsy just posted a link. I think if you're rewatching the video, you can show comments, but it's 25% off for Cyber Monday. And this is the mini backpack by Diedelbug handmade. Oh. I'll definitely post a link and affiliate links below. So if you guys want to support the channel and buy stuff that you like, I have some Amazon links. Please don't feel like you have to. If you find a better price somewhere else, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. So yeah, I love this pattern. I sell this bag for anywhere from $85 to $135. So the $135 is with leather, and then $85 is like without pockets, you know, just very, very simple. Tammy asked, can I put it on? Yeah, sure. I'm gonna, ooh, adjust the camera up so you guys can see. And this is with the straps kind of on the smallest settings, so hopefully you can see. One thing that I have really, Chris, I don't think the Decaville Heavy would be too much on the bottom panel, but honestly, like, the light is really all you need when you're working with the vinyl, but it's, you know, I think it's personal preference. One thing that I've been wanting to try, and I said I would and I just haven't, is adding a slip pocket to the whole back panel. A lot of my friends said this is something they'd like as well. It's just like a really easy access phone panel in the back, so you can feel it against your back if it vibrates. So again, all you'd have to do is cut that panel, add lining, and then sew lining to the remainder. Doesn't quite make sense, but anyway, I'm tired. My face is bright red because it's hot and I've been talking forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me. Do you fuse vinyl? Yes, I fuse Decaville to the vinyl with my heat press. It's hard with the iron. Oh yeah, I gotta take these clips out. I always have a pile of clips in the bathroom. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you later. Good night.